And now he's determined to be a part of the DNA Shoa Project. Mr. Shrebnick, thank you so much for being with us. It is a pleasure. And I was having such a good time talking to you off camera that I'm going to try to transfer some of this to share with our audience. Yeah. First, let's talk about your half century in America. You've had some fascinating careers. Tell me about your background in genetic engineering.
Well, actually, it started in 1957 when I went to Wall Street and worked as an investment banker for a number of firms. And in late 1970, I saw a revolution coming in regards to new technologies for reproduction, what have you. And my wife and I were cow breeders at that time, and I felt that the time was proper to possibly set up a biotech company to develop new technologies in reproduction, and that's when I formed and founded a company called Genetic Engineering Incorporated.
So you have had a full life over the half century. When did you come into the country? How old were you?
My mother and I came to America June 26, 1946.
The only survivors,
yes,
as far as you knew at the time, from your family?
I do know.
Yeah. Well, you see, the reason I say it that way is that now that you're involved with the DNA Shoa Project, you could find some
I'm hoping.
other relatives.
Oh, that would
Wouldn't that be terrific?
Yes.
Talk to me about how you and your mother survived.
In late 1940, early 1940, our country was invaded by the Germans. And in the latter part of the year, my father decided that our family should split up. And I was taken to a, oh no, let me go back a little bit. We ran away from the apartment where we lived in Brussels.
You were how old?
At that time, I was 6½.
And we have a picture. Let's show everyone the picture. Now, here's the picture of your parents, handsome parents, and that's you as a baby.
Yes.
We have another one. And tell me about this picture.
This is a picture that was taken, I think, about 2 or 3 years after that, in front of a railroad station. I forgot the name of the station. But
you couldn't have been more than 3.
3, yes, right.
About 3 then.
Right.
All right. So how did your mother protect you? How did she keep you
alive?
Well,
the way it's sort of a long story, but to make it short, when we ran away in late 1940, when my father decided we should split up, we ran to a little town called Genval in Belgium, and there was a house that was available that we rented for a little while. That was near a lake. And one night, my father heard someone yelling, "Help," in French, "Au secours," and he thought it might be a trick, and he was afraid to go out, but it kept persisting. So he finally went out, and there was a man that was drowning.
Oh,
so he pulled him out of the lake and took him in. He was a priest.
My goodness.
Yes, who had sort of wandered off and was going to the lake. And we took care of him, and he said, "How can I repay you?" And my father said, "Well, you could give my son Catholic papers."
My goodness.
So the next day, my father and my mother and I went to the town, and he wrote me in the church book that I was baptized and my name is so-and-so, and I had papers.
But now, I understand that you were in orphanages for a while.
From there, I went to an orphanage.
Right.
There was a priest in Namur, Belgium, who was taking care of a lot of Jewish children and also some Jewish men. And he placed me in a Catholic orphanage in Namur. Saint-Jean-de-Dieu was the name of it. And also, he arranged for my mother to have a position there. My mother was a pretty good sewer and a seamstress, and she was making she was making fabric shoes for the children. So we stayed there in that particular orphanage until early 1941. And then one day, my mother spotted a man walking around the orphanage, and she recognized him. And she went to the Mother Superior, and she said, "You better look out for this man because he works for the Germans."
Oh, my heavens.
Yes, he goes under the pretense of being a representative of an American Jewish corporation that helps Jewish children and so on and so forth. But what he really did was to go around and identify specific Jewish children.
This gives an example of how much threat you were under. And I'm so sorry we don't have time for more of the story, but there's one thing I want people to know about your mother. Many people are wondering where those pictures came from.
Yes.
Your mother was a remarkable woman. She buried them.
Oh, yes. Yes, she buried them in late 1940. And after the war, she went back to that particular farm where she buried them and dug up these pictures. That's how they survived.
Let me thank you for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So
nice of you.
I'm so pleased that you're involved with the DNA Shoa Project.
There's one thing I'd like to say, if I could.
If you can, yes.
Yes, for 60 years, I'm always looking for relatives. And when I heard about the Shoa program by accident, I said, my God, this is wonderful. This is simply wonderful. And that's why I'm very enthusiastic about Sid and his project, and I know that he will succeed.
Well, I do too, and I am so thrilled to meet you, and I thank you for sharing your story with us and coming to visit us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure.